we're going to be using this greenhouse effect simulator to simulate how the greenhouse effect causes the temperature of Earth's atmosphere to change. So we're going to start up here in the upper right corner. We've got our legend. It shows us what the sunlight photons and infrared photons look like in this simulator. Remember that sunlight is just visible light. That's the light from the sun that we can see. Infrared photons, those are of a lower wavelength, and that's basically just heat. Next, we have our greenhouse gas concentration. This is one of the things that you are going to be changing. There's two ways you can change it. You can either drag the slider, or the easiest way to do it is just to click the right dot here to match up with whatever row of your data table you're filling out. We're going to be collecting data about today's atmosphere, the greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere today, the concentration in the year 1750, that's before the Industrial Revolution, the concentration during the Ice Age, and then hypothetically, which means not true because it's never been like this, we're going to collect data on a greenhouse gas concentration of 0. So for that one, you're going to click adjustable concentration and move the slider down to 0. We're going to start with the first row of the data table, which is today's greenhouse gas concentration. And we're going to be looking for how the number of different photons changes over time. We don't have to count, but just does the number of sunlight photons in the picture increase or decrease? Same thing for infrared photons. We're also going to be watching our temperature. Does our temperature increase or decrease as the numbers of these different kinds of photons increases and decreases? So what you're going to do is you're going to press play and you're going to watch the simulation for about a minute and just see what happens. So at first, we've got sunlight photons coming in to the frame, and you've got to ask yourself, are those photons coming in at a constant rate, or do we have more sunlight photons coming into the frame over time? Same thing for the infrared photons. We started out with none, but over time, what happens to the number of infrared photons? And then you're also going to take a look at the temperature and watch what's happening to the temperature. Now you got to let it go for about a minute to really see the patterns that are developing here. And once you've watched this simulation for a minute or so, then you can pause it, go back to your data table, and fill out that first row of the data table. After you've filled out the first row of the data table, you're going to want to pause the simulation. And then, this is important, you want to reset all. So you're going to reset all settings before you move on to row 2. So you're going to reset all settings. Then you're going to click on 1750 to change the greenhouse gas composition to what it was back in the year 1750, before the Industrial Revolution. Once you've done that, then you're going to click play. You're going to watch, you're going to record your observations, and then you're going to reset everything again before you move on to Ice Age, and then the concentration of 0 or none. Once you've finished filling out the data table for part 2A, make sure you leave this tab open because we're going to be using a different part of this simulation for the next part of this assignment.